The covert narcissist loves paying it forward. Now, before we go anywhere into this discussion, it should be clarified that the narcissist loves the concept of paying it forward. They don't actually like to pay anything that costs them forward. Remember, the cold and calculating narc sees life as a game in which they always come out the winner, on top. Part of being a winner is doing a careful cost-to-benefit analysis of every positive or beneficial thing that they do. The narc thrives on public attention and being thought of as a fine person, so partaking in acts of charity that are noticed by others is seen as highly desirable to the covert narcissist. The benefit extends further because many of these activities are group efforts, and the narc's actual emotional detachment and lack of genuine concern can be easily camouflaged. The very act of doing this charitable work is the perfect smokescreen that allows the covert narcissist to avoid any scrutiny. So yes, paying it forward is a very prestigious way of being charitable. It might even be one of the highest forms of charity out there for these narcopathic creeps. Why? Because the accolades that come along with being someone who pays it forward, either in a large-scale charity, where those who are more privileged give of their time and resources, or even on an individual basis where only a handful of people can take notice, pays huge dividends in the form of high-quality fuel for the narcissist. Sadly, the narc doesn't even understand the concept of paying it forward. Yes, they may do it mechanically and then tell everyone they've done it. They might even convince themselves that if they get $100 and they throw 10 cents into a tin cup, they have paid it forward. Yes, sometimes that narc will give $10 out of 100, or even the whole 100. But there must be some payoff in the form of bolstering their billboard or public persona. The narc will never understand that what they have done isn't really paying it forward. There is more to paying it forward than just receiving and giving. There are actual emotions involved that go along with that act. Charity comes from the heart, and the narc, sad to say, cares about no one but themselves. In a court of law, were the truth to ever come out, that narc would be convicted of depraved selfishness 100 times over, with the jury all in full agreement. There would be no doubt whatsoever that that covert narcopath lives and breathes for themselves and themselves alone. No, like every other positive endeavor of the human race, the narc will never understand, and all they can do is pretend and mimic the genuine actions and words of others. Now the discussion could end there, but we wouldn't be taking into account that, in a twisted way, the covert narc does pay things forward. Unfortunately, like everything else with the covert narc, it is a reverse image of the genuine article. How so? Well, many a narc will tell sorrowful tales about their terrible childhood. How much of this abuse is real and fabricated will never be known to the average person, but it would be safe to assume that some form of neglect or abuse did occur to make these individuals the warped excuses for a human being they become. So during the course of the narc's upbringing, it may well be that a parent or caretaker had finally had enough of the young narc's insolence, or saw deep-set problems that needed to be addressed and actually tried to discipline that narc. It may well be that family members that the narc trusted betrayed that trust and stole from the narc, leaving that narc feeling used and abused by the fact that those people had been totally disingenuous and played that narc for a fool. Yes, the narc did occasionally make themselves vulnerable, and the pain of that betrayal left an impact. In addition, that narc may have early on actually been used and abused by partners that were also narcopaths, and having been manipulated and abused, that narc was affected negatively. Yes, that narc may have had a partner that manipulated them into a relationship, then marriage, and starting a family, and on top of all of that, cheated on that narc in the cruelest manner possible. The reality is, of course, that the narc was taking every opportunity to cheat, and the partner finally returned the favor, but that is an aside. A good case can be made that previous abuse, both mental, emotional, and physical, may well have occurred in that covert narcissist's past. It is also a good bet that much of what the narc views as abuse was well deserved by that narcopathic creep. Before we proceed, there is an important distinction that needs to be made between the narc paying it forward and the narc seeking revenge for supposed harm done to them. Yes, they are two totally different things. When the narc pays their vitriol forward, the negativity they dispense is done to someone who never deserved it. That person was frequently not even present when that initial perceived wrong was done to the narcissist. With regard to paying it forward, the point to be emphasized is that the narc has baggage, their own set of issues brought about by their personal interactions with other people. No doubt, much of that abuse is not abuse at all, since with a narcopath, glancing at them with the wrong expression, not complimenting them enough, or having the audacity to question anything they say or do, let alone voice objections, is all bundled and categorized within the framework of abuse. This creates deep-seated hostility in the narcopath, especially when these narcopath-appointed abusers are out of the narc's reach. So by proxy, that narc will find scapegoats to pay forward the perceived abuse that was perpetrated upon them in the past. This is when the narc takes the opportunity to take all of the negativity they have absorbed and pay it forward to another individual, an innocent bystander. But the narc will make sure that they pay that evil back multiple fold. Yes, someone will have to suffer twice as badly as that narc did for the narc to be satisfied. So if the narc was manipulated and threatened or physically abused in the past, one day that narc will find an opportunity to pay all of that forward to another person, some intimate partner that has made themselves vulnerable. The narc may have felt the betrayal of having things stolen by family members when they let down their guard and now needs to pay that forward as well. The narc, who personally cheated on their partners as frequently as possible, still felt incredible outrage when the same was done to them. So, cruelly flaunting flirtatious behavior in the process of the discard and a new relationship after the discard in front of their previous partner is the perfect vehicle for paying more negativity forward. Yes, in the end the narc not only gets even, they make sure they get even multiple times more than the initial offense. The cold calculating narc weighs and measures everything precisely on the scales and measures of their own design, then does the math and multiplies the evil they pay back on others. The narc refuses to accept or acknowledge an obvious fact. In committing their evil and treachery, that narc lost all rights to complain about their childhood or any abusive relationship they have ever had. The narc neutralized their own victim status by becoming a perpetrator that repeated and even amplified and exceeded all of the past abuse done to them. Why? Because they took their own vengeance, and even worse than that, they made innocent people suffer so that they could vent their own accumulated hostility. But the narc doesn't see things that way at all. No, that narc continues to cling to the notion that they have been victimized by the world. So the narc walks away from the disaster they have created in someone's life. No, this wasn't a fluke occurrence or a temporary loss of sanity. This was abuse that went on for weeks and months after wreaking havoc on their supposed previous lifetime partner. The narc had numerous opportunities to repair the emotional and mental damage, but that narc refused and even felt proud of and enjoyed milking that depleted partner to within an inch of their lives. But now the narc is reformed. They have recreated themselves, and once again they take on the role of the martyr that gave everything for others and never got anything for themselves. Yes, that narc feels totally justified in all they have done in the past and absolutely thinks it correct and proper to once again take on victim status.
Why you're going to Boston?
Doris, I'm not going to tell you, and you know it.
Yes, but this is just so unlike you. Flying off to some strange city for no reason, not even telling your best friend why.
AP Flight 29 to Boston.
Oh, gosh, that's my flight. I gotta go. Bye.
This is to announce the boarding of AP Flight 29 to Boston, departing from Gate 51.
Bye.
I don't mean to pry. But
what? You can ask me what you want.
why did you lie about why you were going to Boston?
How did you know I lied?
I could hear it in your voice. I can hear lots of things. Maybe because I'm blind. I don't know, but I know you don't lie. Otherwise, I wouldn't have heard the difference.
I was going to meet someone. A man named Darren Crosby.
How did you come to know him?
Well, that's the embarrassing part, and that's why I lied. I've never actually met him before. We started corresponding through a personal ad in a magazine, and I liked him. I liked what he wrote and what he looked like in his picture. So I agreed to fly to Boston to meet him.
That's strange, isn't it? To fly all the way across the country to see someone you've never even met before.
Yeah. But I just realized it didn't have anything to do with Mr. Crosby. It was really about me. I didn't want to play it safe anymore. I was trying to break out of the confines of my life and have an adventure. Well, I guess I got more of an adventure than I bargained.
So that narc thinks that they're free and clear, that they don't have any baggage. Yes, they are leaving for their new life and relationship. They're getting on the plane and they're not taking anyone else's baggage. Cute. Neat. But unfortunately all of the messy details of the past have either been deleted or modified to fit the new narrative. But does the truth, the reality really just dissolve into the past? Not in the real world, but anything is possible in the narc's warped version of reality. Well, that narc has postured themselves to do exactly that, erase and revise the past to fit that new narrative. But can that narc's past, the truth, really just be buried? No, that isn't how things work, since unfortunately for the narc, the world doesn't really revolve around them. Yes, even those closest to the narc have been brainwashed to believe that the narc is the martyr, the narc is the one that suffered deeply and sacrificed greatly, and finally that narc deserves a life of their own lived on their terms with the partner of their choice in the location of their choice. Yes, even those closest to the narc may believe that ruse. In fact, that narc has probably even convinced themselves that it's all correct. But we know better, and as that narc's new and idealized Shangri-La slowly falls apart and dissolves, the narc will once again have 100 different reasons why things failed, but they will never point a finger at themselves. It will always be another person's fault. In the end, that narc will be alone and there will be nobody to point the finger at but themselves, and they will pay for every nasty act that they have ever perpetrated upon another human being, or even animal for that matter. What the narc fails to understand is that they have a huge amount of baggage, and that includes all of the damage they have done to others. That baggage that they've created for others belongs to the narc, and they can never escape it except for one possible way: Jesus now, not later. A genuine conversion that is proven by a changed attitude and actions. A person who has turned over a new leaf and has divorced themselves from their lifetime partner, the lie. But the narc will never separate themselves from their one constant and reliable partner, the lie. That narc may pretend to be contrite and pretend to be telling the truth in an effort to patronize an ex-partner and shut them up. But the keen observer can easily see through the guise. Yes, that narc will never change their ways and can't help themselves but to fall into the same patterns of deceit and treachery and lying like there is no tomorrow. Not to mention the grandstanding. Yes, the narc thinks it impressive when they announce they are working for a charitable organization of international renown. Charity in its essence starts at home, with the people closest to you. How you treat those people behind closed doors is the true measure of your charity. Yes, the way that the narcissist treats their loved ones and their significant others shows the true nature of that beast. No, it's not a pretty sight, and when you compound that with someone who struts around wanting the world to believe what wonderful people they are, the stench of hypocrisy brings tears to your eyes. It's what you do that no one will ever know about that is the important thing, then all of those public acts flow from that. But the narc doesn't and will never get it. It's all about the mind candy of being publicly acknowledged as a fine person. Being linked to and associating with the people that the world deems important. So what does it mean to pay something forward, covert narcissist style? It means dumping all of your toxic emotional and mental garbage on others for them to absorb. If those people don't survive the process, it's not the narc's problem. The other narcissist version of paying it forward is the fake posturing that the narc calls paying it forward and appears to be the genuine item to most observers. So the average observer and even the narc themselves genuinely believes in the narc's masquerade. That narc truly believes that their fake display of charity is the equivalent of what others do when they pay things forward. But of course it's all about attitude, and because of that the narc falls short. Yes, paying it forward narcissist style perfectly illustrates the mentality of the covert narcissist. Public activity for all to see because the narc craves public attention and admiration with zero substance behind those public displays. Oh yes, that narc will do things that benefit others, but the gain to the narc will always far exceed the narc's outlay. That's just how it is with the narc. Yes, the narc is getting on a plane and not taking anyone else's baggage, but what the narc fails to take into account is the mountains of damage, the baggage they've created for countless victims over the course of their lives. That baggage is all on the narc's account, and they can't escape that fact no matter how they try to deny it or how much time passes. So there will never be any genuine peace for the narc, and the chaos and turmoil that the narc lives in is well deserved. Yes, there will be a few moments of contentment in the beginning stages when the narc starts that new life and new persona and new relationship, in that new environment. But make no mistake, that narc has baggage. Their own and all of the baggage they have created for others. They own it all. It is inescapable. That narc's past will haunt them, not because of guilt or remorse. Not by way of the victims. Those victims have genuinely moved on and set themselves up for genuine peace and joy and contentment. But because that narc is cold and calculating and always does the math. Like every shyster with a Ponzi scheme, that narc knows they have stolen and stolen big time to get to where they are. That narc knows that they owe more than they could ever pay back, and the interest on what they owe accrues each and every day, and has done so for years and decades. Only Jesus can cover that debt and give that narc peace, absolving them of all that they owe. So the narc is a charitable human being according to themselves. But their activities of the past few decades tell a very different story. One of zero charity, zero concern for any other human being but for themselves, and selfishness that would boggle the average person's mind. Yes, that narc is getting on a plane and not taking anyone else's baggage. Only their own. But the narc has a problem. They don't decide what is and isn't their baggage. They don't decide what they are and aren't responsible for. Yes, that narc can get on a plane to the other side of the world, a tropical paradise, but they will never be able to escape the real baggage that belongs to them. That narc can't change the past or pretend it never existed. Yes, there was a particular narc that was told of the folly of trying to run away from your problems by changing your latitude, not your attitude. But the narc apparently never paid attention to the important wisdom that someone was trying to impart to her. She was busy finding all of the angles and studying a target to see how she could play her wicked game and entangle that person in her web of deceptions. She got caught in that web as well. Well, that narc will be once again caught in a web of her own creation, and she will not be the one that calls the shots or is in control. How foolish of those narcopathic creeps to not take into account all the damage that they've done to others and somehow foster the illusion that they deserve happiness, peace, joy, and contentment. You don't achieve those goals by walking away from problems, you achieve them by dealing with the problems and resolving them. Somehow the narc believes that denying the damage they have done resolves everything. Pretending the abuse they perpetrated never existed and refusing further contact with the discarded victim is all it takes for them to move on. Yes, for the typical narc it's all about them and them alone. The victims of narc abuse tried desperately to resolve things the correct and healthy way after that discard. Those victims deserved and needed answers, needed to sort things out so that they could learn and heal and move on. Those victims eventually found their answers without the help of the narcopath, and they are the ones who have worked hard to achieve a peaceful existence. Yes, many a victim tried to clear the decks so that both partners could move on and have genuine peace, but the narc simply refused and in fact reveled in torturing that ex-lifetime partner as they struggled to get their bearings. But according to the narc and their twisted view of the world, none of what they have done in the past is their problem. That narc simply turns off the switch to one relationship and turns on the switch to another. Yes, that covert narc actually thinks they are entitled to a happy existence. Well, good luck to them. Hope it works out. Because it isn't the ex-partner's problem at all. That ex-partner can get on any plane and has no baggage other than their responsibility to others that they embrace and don't see as a burden at all. Yes, charity begins at home. It comes from the heart, where no one can see. Peace, joy and contentment are all about attitude. So is genuine love, commitment, and loyalty for that matter. All things that the narc will never be able to comprehend. Yes, paying it forward perfectly illustrates the mentality of the covert narcissist. That narc cherishes the dividends that the appearance of paying it forward can provide, so therefore the narc loves the concept of paying it forward. But it's all fake, phony and a fraud. Yes, the narc never paid anything forward that didn't return more than their outlay, and certainly there was no heart in the act. Well, one day life will pay the covert narcissist. Not pay forward, but simply give the narc what they have rightfully earned. With interest. Yes, everyone that narc ever damaged deserved it according to the narc. They will see how well that argument holds up one day. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcomed. Peace be with you.